Hello and welcome to Brain Power. I'm your host Thomas Trombley, and we'll be discussing topics ranging from current news, world events, and religion. Basically, whatever bit of news that catches my eye. If you have a story you'd like covered here or a question you'd like answered, send me a message on Twitter at BrainPowerUp. Use the hashtag BrainPowerUp, like the group at facebook.com/BrainPowerOnline, or visit the website at brainpoweronline.webs.com. Today we're actually running a little late. Today's Monday, July 6th. The show was supposed to be yesterday, but I got caught up and was staying at a friend's house for 4th of July weekend, so had a bit of fun there. Anyway, now that we're back, don't worry, next show should be on Sunday, back on the Sunday schedule as usual, so. Anyway, we have a few related stories today, actually. Two different sets of related stories. That's what gets kind of funny. We're going to start off. We're going to start off here with really a sad story. The United States has had its first measles death in 12 years. A woman in Washington state who fell ill earlier this year and died is now said to have died from pneumonia caused by measles, making it what health officials say is the first measles death in the country since 2003. The cause of death of the woman, who was in her 20s, was determined only after her autopsy. Her illness is likely linked to an outbreak that took place in Clallam County in the spring. She was reportedly treated at a medical center at the same time as another patient who later developed a rash and was determined to be contagious for measles. The USA Today notes that the disease can be spread even before outward symptoms manifest. The woman's death makes it the 6th confirmed measles case in Clallam County, and the 11th in Washington this year per the Times. Many of the cases nationwide, 178 so far this year, notes the CDC, were part of a larger outbreak believed to have started in Disneyland. State health officials say the woman has had several other health conditions and was taking meds that helped suppress her immune system. A California state senator and pediatrician who advocated for his state's tougher vaccine laws tells USA Today that he was so sorry to hear about this preventable tragedy, and that it underscores exactly why the law is necessary. Okay, like I said, some stories are tying into each other. Well, here's the second part to that. It's the story of the vaccine bill. California lawmakers today, this was June 28th then, California lawmakers today sent the governor a contentious bill that would impose one of the strictest school vaccination laws in the country in reaction to a recent measles outbreak at Disneyland. The Senate reaffirmed the bill, striking California's personal belief exemption for immunizations with a 24-14 vote. Mississippi and West Virginia are the only two states with such strict requirements in place. Democratic Governor Jerry Brown has not said whether he would sign it. Although the bill passed the Senate and the Assembly with bipartisan support, it did not pass with the two-thirds threshold that would be needed to override a governor's veto. Parents opposed to the bill vowed to take legal action even though the issue has been upheld in court, including by the Supreme Court. "I will sue to put my child in school," says the parent of an 8-year-old child. "I will not run from the state that is our home." Other parents cheered the legislative vote and immediately turned their attention to swaying Brown. "I know that he's very pro-science, and that's really what this bill comes down to," says a mother of 4 from Napa who started Vaccinate California, a parental group in support of the bill. Brown has 12 days to decide on the bill. The governor's office immediately began receiving petitions from both sides. The governor believes that vaccinations are profoundly important and a major public health benefit, and any bill that reaches his desk will be closely considered. A governor's spokesman has repeated in recent days. Oh, no, I see. A governor's spokesman has repeated in recent days. Pardon me. And there's one more story that kind of all goes along with this. And this kind of shocked me that the source from this is actor Jim Carrey came out against this bill. In what can be fairly described as a rant, Jim Carrey voiced his unfavorable opinion of California's new immunization law in a series of tweets last night and early this morning. Hours prior, Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill that requires all school-aged children to be vaccinated unless they suffer from a serious health condition, reports the AP. California is now the third state to disallow a personal belief exemption for vaccinations. Mississippi and West Virginia are the others. California Governor Brown says yes to poisoning more children with mercury and aluminum in mandatory vaccines. Carey tweeted in response to the news. This corporate fascist must be stopped. The CDC maintains there is no link between vaccines and autism, but Carey tweeted that the Public Health Institute is not to be trusted. The CDC can't solve a problem they helped start. It's too risky to admit they have been wrong about mercury thimerosal. I don't know what he's trying to get at there, but they are corrupt. The 53-year-old emphasized in a number of tweets that he is pro-vaccine but anti-neurotoxin, asserting that they've taken some of the mercury-laden thimerosal out of vaccines, not all. He urged his followers to watch an autism documentary called Trace Amounts. Carey famously dated Jenny McCarthy, who has an autistic son. During the years that she was a vocal opponent of vaccines, she has since seemingly softened her stance. And that's something that shocks me. It's granted, I never knew anything about Jim Carrey's political standpoint or religious views or whatever, anything about that. But he never struck me as the kind of guy that would, pull a Tom Cruise and just, go off the deep end mentally. It just, all right, well, whatever. I can still watch the guy's movies. I still think he played a lot of funny roles, a lot of good roles. Anyway, the marriage equality bill just passed recently. That was a huge step forward for human rights here in America. But some people kind of took that a bit too far and took that as a sign from above that that they can do whatever they want too. As long as they can push to get what they want. A Montana man inspired by last week's Supreme Court decision legalizing gay marriage has applied for a marriage license so that he can legally wed his second wife. Nathan Collier and his wives Victoria and Christine applied at the Yellowstone County Courthouse in Billings, Montana yesterday in an attempt to legitimize their polygamous marriage. Montana, just like all other 50 states, outlaws bigamy, which is holding multiple marriage licenses. But Collier says he plans to sue if the application is denied. It's about marriage equality, Collier says. You can't have this without polygamy. County clerk officials initially denied the application, then said they would consult with the county attorney's office before giving them a final answer. Yellowstone County Chief Civil Litigator Kevin Gillen said he is reviewing Montana's bigamy laws and expected to send a formal response to Collier by next week. I think he deserves an answer, Gillen says, but added his review is finding that the law simply doesn't provide for that yet. The Supreme Court's ruling made gay marriages legal nationwide. Chief Justice John Roberts said in his dissent that people in polygamous relationships could make the same legal argument that not having the opportunity, I lost my place here, that not having the opportunity to marry disrespects and subordinates them. Collier, 46, said that dissent inspired him. He married Victoria, 40, in 2000. He and his second wife, Christine, had a religious wedding ceremony in 2007, but did not sign a marriage license to avoid bigamy charges. Now, the biggest problem is these guys, or specifically this guy and his two wives, they are committing a logical fallacy by saying that you can't have marriage equality without allowing polygamy. Because unfortunately, I kind of have to be guilty of this same logical fallacy myself to illustrate the point. But it's called the slippery slope fallacy. It's asserting that if we allow A to happen, then Z will consequently happen too. Therefore, A should not happen. The idea is, okay, well, because gay marriage is now legal, then polygamy should be legalized. And hell with it. Why not marrying animals? Let's make that legal too. What about the case of that guy that wanted to marry? He wanted to marry Siri. Wanted to marry his cell phone. Yeah, we should make that legal too. It's completely stupid to even associate this with that fallacy. It does not apply. Now, well, anybody that's listened to this show can tell that I obviously disagree with the Christian standpoint of marriage as one man and one woman, but I do agree with them completely on one aspect of that. It is one human and one human. That's it. There are too many legal issues to even entertain the thought of a polygamous marriage. Say, for example, this guy has two wives, okay? They're both legally his wife. Let's say, polygamy is passed. And let's say he's in the hospital dying. He's in a coma, okay? And wife A, what's her name? Victoria. Wife A, Victoria, says, you know what? Let's take him off life support. That's what he would want. Okay? But Christine says no. Leave him on life support. There is no legal way to differentiate between these two parties because they both have legal rights in this. That's the whole idea. Polygamy will never happen. Actually, I shouldn't say never, just because, well, who knows? With the way things seem to be going, eventually, I'm sure it will become taboo to make fun of polygamous marriage, and eventually, polygamy will be legalized. It's a terrifying thought, but yep, it could potentially happen. Anyway, moving on. Hey, Chris Christie's in the news here. He's one of the guys running for the Republican ticket. The really sad part is, and I really think it has to do with with how much more advanced we've gotten in the last 8 years. Or 7 years, actually, because Obama's not in his 8th year yet. It just pisses Christians off and pisses Republicans off, which usually they're one and the same, but just pisses these people off to no end. So that's why there are 14 Republican candidates. It's a presidential field that NJ.com reports was last this big when Abraham Lincoln won in 1860. Chris Christie today threw his hat into the ring by way of an announcement made at Livingston High School, his alma mater, and the town where everything started for me. Politico reported that Christie's announcement would be made teleprompter free, as befitting his "Telling It Like It Is" campaign slogan. He kicked things off with stories of his roots, hard work, not much money, and what his mother told him. God's given you so many gifts. If you just work hard enough, you can be anything. 10 standout lines from his speech. And before I read these lines, I've already read through these before, and my goodness, is it really that difficult to find an intelligent candidate to run for the Republican side? Reading through these, my only thought is, if he gets elected, back when W was president, I had a page a day calendar, and it was, each one of them was filled with stupid shit W had said. There will be a Chris Christie calendar if he gets elected. And really, there should be a Chris Christie calendar anyway, because he's not quite as dumb as W, it seems, but he's there. Both parties have failed our country. I wake up every morning knowing I have the opportunity to do something great. That's why this job is a great job, and why President of the United States is an even greater job. America is tired of weakness in the Oval Office, and that is why I'm proud to announce my candidacy. The lying and stealing has already happened. The horse is out of the barn. We've got to get it back in, and you can only do it by force. After 7 years, I heard the president say the other day that the world respects America more because of his leadership. This is confirmation that Obama lives in his own world, not ours. We better not turn over to his second mate, Hillary Clinton. I'm not running for President of the United States as a surrogate for being prom king of America. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean, and that's what America needs right now. And unlike some people who will offer themselves for the presidency, you're not going to have to wonder if I can do it or not. He promised a campaign without focus group tested answers. A campaign when I'm asked a question, I'm going to give an answer to the question that's asked, not the answer my political consultants told me to give backstage. We're going to tell it like it is today. The truth will set us free, everybody. Seriously, like I said, he's not quite as dumb as W, but he's up there. That being said, those stupid things that presidential candidates have said, Mitt Romney apparently knows what Twitter is. Alrighty. Mitt Romney has long been vocal about his distaste for the Confederate flag flying on South Carolina Capitol grounds, saying in a 2007 presidential debate, "That's not a flag I recognize. That flag, frankly, is divisive, and it shouldn't be shown." He refueled that fire Saturday when he tweeted in response to the Charleston church shootings, writing, "Take down the Confederate flag at the South Carolina Capitol. To many, it is a symbol of racial hatred. Remove it now to honor Charleston's victims." Other Republican presidential candidates are now offering their own take. South Carolina's own Senator Lindsey Graham insists the flag is a part of who we are, and that we shouldn't be blaming what happened in Charleston on it. We're not going to give this guy an excuse. It's him, not the flag. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush says, "In Florida, we acted, moving the flag from the state grounds to a museum where it belonged. But following a period of mourning, there will rightly be a discussion among leaders in the state about how South Carolina should move forward, and I'm confident they will do the right thing." One person who wants to table the discussion, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, "I fully expect the leaders of South Carolina to debate this. but the conversation should wait until after the families have had a chance to bury and mourn their loved ones. I'm going to stop for just a moment. It's really sad because I live in Minnesota, which is right next to Wisconsin, and it's sad. Even though he's their governor, not ours, a lot of the policies that he's put in place in Wisconsin have affected me here in Minnesota, and I I have never had any amount of respect for this man in the slightest uh, until now. I got just a hint of a glimmer of a shadow of a bit of respect. Maybe I don't know. I at least like what he said. Anyway, continuing on. Senator Ted Cruz is trying to see both sides, saying he understands those who see a history of racial oppression and a history of slavery embedded in the flag, but that he also gets those who want to remember the sacrifices of their ancestors and the traditions of their states, not the racial oppression. Which is basically a nice way of saying, I don't know what to say, but I have to say something. Senator Marco Rubio, businesswoman Carly Fiorina, and expected presidential candidate Ohio Governor John Kasich are taking a non-interventionist approach, though Florina, and Kasich say they agree personally with taking the flag down, stating it's up to the people of South Carolina to decide what to do, not outsiders, as Rubio puts it. Still silent on the matter, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal, ex-Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, Senator Rand Paul, and the latest GOP contender, a surprisingly quiet Donald Trump. Well, to be fair, though, Trump's still in the news. Trump is still just as vocal as always. As a matter of fact, he's pissed off the people of Mexico bad. I don't remember if I covered that in a previous episode or not. I think I did. I'm actually just curious now for my own satisfaction. What do we got here? 1510. Okay, yeah, I covered how Mexico yelled at Trump in last episode, 1510. I believe 15:9. Nope, I didn't cover it in 15:9. All right, so it must have just been 15:10. Anyway, Donald Trump had said that he wanted to build a giant wall along the Mexican border to prevent all the Mexican rapists from coming up here. Obviously, the people of Mexico didn't like that too much. The sad part is they weren't even upset so much about the building of the wall. They weren't so much about, Trump saying, hey, we got to stop immigration, illegal immigration. But seriously, just classifying them all as rapists, that's just plain stupid. Anyway, Donald Trump is a man of his word, at least when that word is sue. The GOP candidate made good on his threat to sue Univision, which, the Spanish language channel, at least up here in the United States. I think it's all over. I don't know. Anyway, to sue Univision for hundreds of millions of dollars yesterday, filing a $500 million lawsuit in New York State Supreme Court over the network's decision to drop the Miss USA pageant. Univision, like NBC, says it decided to drop the pageant because of Trump's remarks about Mexican immigrants. But the lawsuit accuses the network of trying to quash the candidate's freedom of speech under the First Amendment as he begins to campaign for the nation's presidency. Trump also accuses the networks of abandoning 51 wonderful young women who have come from all over the United States to pursue their dream of being crowned Miss USA. But the show will go on. A Miss USA representative tells Deadline that the July 12th pageant will be streamed online, even though co-hosts Thomas Roberts and Cheryl Burke have dropped out. Univision, meanwhile, calls the lawsuit factually false and legally ridiculous. And the AP reports that Trump has gained some new foes. Several Mexican TV firms have dumped Trump-related projects, and Mexico says it won't be sending a contestant to the Miss Universe pageant. It's Trump is really only good for two things. Number one, maintaining that creepy color of orange in his hair, and two, pissing people the fuck off. Which is why, you know what, I should have let in with this. I forgot to. Sad part is, I think he already was, but he is again. Donald Trump is the asshole of the week here. It's just a schmuck. But you know what, I better stop talking now before he sues me too. Anyway. What do we got here? Actually, here we go. Here's anybody that's a fan of Star Trek: The Next Generation knows this guy. If you're a fan of the TV show The Big Bang Theory, you've seen him around. If you're a fan of tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, you've probably heard this man's name. I'm actually on Will Wheaton's official website. Will Wheaton played the character of Wesley Crusher on Star Trek. It's I went on his site just because I'm a nerd. It's like, dude, it's Will Wheaton. He's awesome. But I actually found something on his site that it's almost like he wrote it for me. Today we fight back against mass surveillance. By the way, I just want to point out once again, this is willwheaton.net. I'm actually reading from his blog. The listing on his blog is, "Hi, I'm Will, and this is my blog. Yay!" Anyway. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, which is the First Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Fourth Amendment. But whatever our differences may have been in the past, we strongly agree that the dragnet collection of millions of Americans' phone records every day, whether they have any connection at all to terrorism, goes far beyond what Congress envisioned or intended to authorize. More important, we agree it must stop. That's Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont and Representative Jim Sensenbrenner from Wisconsin. It's this is from EFF.org. Since June, ongoing revelations about the NSA's activities have shown us the expanding scope of government surveillance. Today is the day. People around the world are demanding an end to mass spying. A broad coalition of organizations, companies, and individuals are loudly voicing their stance against unwarranted mass spying. Over 6,000 websites have joined together today to demand reform. EFF stands by millions of users, represented by groups like Demand Progress, ACLU, PEN, and Access, as well as companies like Google, Twitter, Mozilla, and Reddit, to reform governmental collection of innocent users' information. Over the past few years, we've seen the Internet as a political force make waves in Washington. From our defeat of the Internet censorship bill SOPA to our battles over CISPA, TPP, and patent reform. History has shown that we can activate our networks to beat back legislation that threatens our ability to connect, as well as champion bills that will further our rights online. We can win this. We can stop mass spying. With public opinion polls on our side, unprecedented pressure from presidential panels and oversight boards, and millions of people speaking out around the world, We've got a chance now to change surveillance policy for good. Last year, we were presented with a new opportunity. An opportunity in the form of leaks that showed us the truth about deeply invasive surveillance programs around the world. This is the year we make good on that opportunity. Let's ensure that sacrifices made by whistleblowers and risks taken by brave journalists were not done in vain. Join us in fighting back. We've laid out below how you can speak out against mass spying. Pardon. Calling Congress just takes 5 minutes and is the most effective action you can take right now to let your elected officials know that mass surveillance must end. Here's what you should say. I would like Senator or Representative, whoever, to support and co-sponsor H.R. 3361/S 1599, the USA Freedom Act. Actually, this part is actually outdated, so I'm not going to bother reading that. But anyway, that's actually the end of the article here. Now, for the most part, this is done with. As far as I'm aware, there is no mass, well, at least not open mass spying anymore. But it does still exist. It is still an issue. I love, for example, the idea of apparently there's a filter on NSA's website with, not on their website, but on their servers and whatnot, where it pretty much listens to every phone call out there. If you say certain keywords, like you say bomb, terror, airplane, things like that, and by the way, they're probably going to come pick me up now. But if you say things like that on a phone line, it automatically starts paying more attention to your call. Well, the thing is, anybody that's ever seen any kind of voice recognition software, if you've ever had like a Dragon speech-to-text thing on your computer, or if you've used the speech-to-text feature on your cell phones, you notice you really have to speak clearly and firmly and loudly. Pardon. So, and sometimes it doesn't even understand you. Voice recognition software is really not that good. For a voice recognition software to understand me, for example, right now, it would have to be so highly sophisticated that it can understand human speech patterns. It can cut out my ums and ers and when I pause to cough up a lung. And that little vocal tick I just made, that it would probably take my little bits of stuttering here and there as speech, and the whole point being this thing has to really, really pay attention. And that scares me. I don't like that. But whatever. Not much I can do except, go off the grid or something. And that's not as easy as you'd think, I'd imagine. Anyway, moving on. Actually, how much time do we have left? Okay, I got about 11 minutes. According to the Federal Reserve circulation figures, you're a lot more likely to have an Andrew Jackson in your wallet than an Alexander Hamilton, which is one reason why Women on 20s campaigners say putting a woman on the $10 bill instead isn't ideal. The group says the Treasury plan is progress, but they're also not thrilled about the fact that the yet-to-be-chosen woman may have to share the bill with Hamilton. We would love to see a woman not have to share her glory and her opportunity to be recognized and honored, Executive Director Susan Aids Stone tells USA Today. And unlike Jackson, Alexander Hamilton is not someone that people have a problem with. Stone tells the New Yorker that the group focused on the $20 bill partly because of the reputation of Jackson, who was responsible for the brutal expulsion of many Native Americans from their lands, and was strongly opposed to central banking. We'll still have to be looking at Andrew Jackson for quite a bit longer, and that's a shame, says Stone, who hopes that Treasury Chief Jack Lew takes into account the fact that Harriet Tubman won the group's poll for the new face on the 20. Lew says the $10 bill was chosen because it's next in line for upgrading in what will be a whole new generation of currency. You know, it's kind of an interesting story. Personally, I'm all for putting a woman on the money. That's who cares? It's no different from having a man on the money. We've already proven that even though most of the people on our money are presidents, look at the $100 bill. He was never. Benjamin Franklin was not a president. Granted, he was one of the founding fathers, but he was not a president. He's not necessary. And then some could say, "Oh, well, maybe it's just the founding fathers on the bills and on the money." No, Eisenhower is on the dime. My goodness, who is that? No, Lincoln. Lincoln's on a penny. He wasn't really one of the founding fathers. But anyway, moving on. We're back into. I've got another set of related stories. This one is kind of an old story, but it adds in though. You may remember there was something that has been named the Fappening, which is a terrible, terrible name, but it was a huge Apple iCloud leak where some hackers stole nude photos of, I want to say it was like 35 different celebrities. And there was a huge legal battle that ensued immediately following that. Well, the biggest problem is Jennifer Lawrence, who, I'm sorry, but after this system, I lost any and all respect I could have had for her. Personally, I didn't know much about her. I've never seen the Hunger Games movies. My only knowledge of her was playing the role of Mystique in the new X-Men movies. But anyway, what has happened to Jennifer Lawrence, Michaela Maroney, and other celebrities who have had their nude photos splashed across the internet is both criminal and despicable, writes Charlotte Alter at Time. Pardon. And while it is an enormous violation of personal privacy and sexual autonomy, it is not sexual assault. An argument being made by countless commenters, labeling it as such dilutes the real meaning of the term and does more harm than good, she writes. It is not the same as being raped or forced to perform oral sex or molested as a child or beaten. Yes, it is another sign that we live in a society where the widespread degradation of women still exists, but we must be precise when talking about violence. If everything is sexual assault, then nothing really is. This is closer to revenge porn, which some states have begun criminalizing. Those rightly outraged by what has happened should channel that anger toward making sure that all states follow suit. Now, here's where this particular story was from last September, 2014. But what it says is it's closer to revenge porn, which, yes, I agree. That's another terrible, despicable thing that is actually, where the next story is leading into. For those of you who aren't aware, revenge porn is, say a girl sends nude pictures of herself to her boyfriend, and then 3 months later they break up. Well, the boyfriend is pissed off and says, you know what, I'm going to get revenge on her by posting her nude pictures on the internet. That's kind of the same idea. You're posting nude photos of someone on the internet without their permission, which is... yes, that is a crime. That is illegal. That is, and not just illegal, it's immoral, it's wrong, it's terrible. But because of that, that's why I'm actually getting more respect for Google. I mean, personally, I've always loved Google. It's my main search engine. I use an Android smartphone, which is based on Google. The only thing I don't like from them is Google Chrome. I'm a Firefox guy myself, but anyway. Google will delete revenge porn from search results. Google is putting its heavy muscle behind the movement to wipe out revenge porn. The company announced yesterday that it would honor requests to remove such images from search results, reports the Christian Science Monitor. Online forms will be available in a matter of weeks. Our philosophy has always been that search should reflect the whole web, says a Google blog post. But revenge porn images are intensely personal and emotionally damaging and serve only to degrade the victims, predominantly women. It sees the move as a narrow and limited policy in line with how it treats requests to delete other personal information, such as bank account numbers. The company also points out that it can't remove the images themselves from wherever they've been posted, but advocates are still hailing the move. What we have seen in the last 6 months is this public consciousness about the profound economic and social impact of that posting nude images without someone's consent, and often in violation of their trust, can have on people's lives. A University of Maryland law professor tells USA Today, at Gizmodo, Adam Clark Estes puts it more forcefully. It's about damn time, he writes, calling Google's move a tremendous step forward in the way too arduous fight to put a stop to this vile behavior. About 20 states currently outlaw revenge porn, and a bill will be introduced in the House soon to make it a federal crime. My goodness. And once again, that day cannot come soon enough. Anyway, looks like we are running short on time here. Got about 2 minutes left. So we're actually going to do things a little bit out of order right now. Normally, I would switch things. Anyway, this has been Brain Power. The next show will be Sunday, July 12th. And as usual, if you have a story you'd like covered here or a question you'd like answered, send me a message on Twitter at BrainPowerUp. Use the hashtag BrainPowerUp. Like the group at facebook.com/BrainPowerOnline. Or visit the website at brainpoweronline.webs.com. Now, like I said, I do have a kind of a surprise for you guys. Well, not really a surprise, I don't know. Anyway, a couple weeks ago there was that church shooting down in South Carolina. Now, that was a huge tragedy. That was a terrible, terrible thing that had happened. And the president, Barack Obama, spoke out against this, and he even led the church's choir in a round of Amazing Grace. So I would like to share that with you, with my listeners tonight. Here it is.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but Clementa Picnic found that grace. Cynthia Hurd found that grace. Susie Jackson found that grace. Ethel Lance found that grace. DePayne Middleton Doctor found that grace. Tywanza Sanders found that grace. Daniel L. Simmons Sr. found that grace. Sharonda Coleman Singleton found that grace. Myra Thompson found that grace through the example of their lives. They've now passed it on to us. May we find ourselves worthy of that precious and extraordinary gift as long as our lives endure. May grace now lead them home. May God continue to shed his grace on the United States of America.